Yeah, Nigel, and I must tell people, I know Nigel for quite a while. I want to be modest and say about 3 decades. Being modest. So full disclosure. So we want, Nigel, fortunately, entrepreneurship is in your blood.
Yes.
And before we dive into your bounce back, I want us to give people a sense as to your own journey. And you were the first person I heard about selling roti by the inch. So you need to roti by the inch. So
Wow.
back up and tell us, this entrepreneurship journey and how you came with this novel idea.
Well, again, in terms of my entrepreneurship journey, it started pretty young. My first venture was at the age of 7 with an older guy in the area I was living. I lived in Rochester Scheme in San Fernando, which at the time was considered an at-risk community. And the first thing that we did is would reupholster what you call box carts or canal carts after the carnival season. In those days, people played mass with a lot of leatherette and sponge. And so for $1.50, we would reupholster box carts, canal carts. And then in secondary school, I made and sold in those days what were Rasta belts and moved on to selling honey roasted peanuts. And being from San Fernando, I
Yeah.
always liked roti. And I always felt that if the right opportunity presented itself in terms of a location, I would open a roti shop. And 10 years after that thought, the opportunity arose. And I rented a spot at the top of Lord Street in San Fernando. But I didn't just want it to be Nigel's roti shop. I mean, it's what everybody else has, and I'm not calling names of who has what. But I wanted something that was different. And one day, while I was looking at television, because I believe that ideas come from everywhere, there was a Pizza Hut advertisement. And, the thought came, what does pizza and roti have in common? It's the same shape, they're both made from flour, and there's toppings on it. But when you ask for a pizza, you say want a small pizza, a medium pizza, a large pizza, they know the inches that each stage has. And so I thought, okay, why not sell roti just like pizza and sell it by the inch? And so roti by the inch was born. So you could have gotten a 12-inch roti, which was 2 inches larger than the regular size everyone else had, all the way up to 18. And then there was a ridiculous, which was a 30-inch roti.
That was
Oh,
the
boy.
family. That was the family dinner.
Oh my
Yeah.
Lord. And that's awesome. That's first of my hearing of that kind of thing. So, Mr. Forgenie, it seems as innovation and creativity is inside of your blood, your DNA. Yeah? You're
Yes.
born with that. Yes.
Yes. I think it's one of the talents that God has blessed me with.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes. So, Mr. Forgenie, business and risk go together. You agree?
Yes. Yes, I
Yes.
agree. I agree.
Right. And very often, faith is a substitute word for risk. No wonder one of the biblical passages that have helped you through life has been Hebrews 1:4. Hebrews
Yes.
11, sorry, verses 1 to 4. Let's read
Yes.
this passage and we would muse on its significance, especially for your journey, Nigel, as an entrepreneur. So we read this chapter 11 of Hebrews, verses 1 to 4. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. Verse 2, verse 3, sorry. By faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. Faith, by faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and through it, he being dead still speaks. Yes?
Yes.
Nigel, talk to us about the significance of this verse to you in the several businesses that you have owned and still do own. Chat with us.
Yeah. Well, it goes back way beyond business. It goes back to life. As I said, I grew up in an at-risk community where my grandmother always said we weren't poor, we were just humble. And so being humble, it meant that you didn't have opportunity or access that other persons had. And so when I became a Christian, one of the things that stuck out to me was that through faith and the word of God, the earth was created. And if we are joint heirs with Christ and have the same power, then it means that we have the same faith. So faith is something that I have always moved on simply because it was the only way out for me. I had to believe in what was unseen and put that trust and faith in God to make it a reality. So in business is the same thing. I had a friend who is deceased now. He was like a brother. And he would always tell me, boy, you have crazy faith. The things you would do, I wouldn't do. Um,
You
you
need to
know,
give us an example, Nigel. It can't be just this general thing because people on the edge of the seat, they want to
Yes.
do this. So let's go.
um, one of the crazy things I did is actually with regard to the place I'm living now. I'd gotten tired of where I was before. And I felt that I needed more space. And so I looked around, couldn't find anything, and I put it in prayer. And I decided that by December 15th of 2009, that I would find the place I'm looking for. And that was in January. And one of the things I did is I detailed what I was looking for, how many bedrooms, the size of the yard, and that sort of thing, and
Yeah,
went
yeah.
hunting and found it quite by accident. When I got there and I spoke to the owners, I felt a total peace once I was in that space. I knew that this was the space. So I prayed again. I took photographs. I put it on my fridge, put it on my dashboard of my car, by my bed, in my Bible, and would meditate and pray on it. And when the opportunity came, I made the down payment, which was all the savings I had at that time, and went forward with this thing. As you know, with 3 months, if you don't close, then you could forfeit your deposit.
Yeah.
And halfway through the process, the bank called and said, "Look, we need to have a new valuation done." And I said, okay. And when I did the valuation, it came back about $200,000 less than what the asking price was. And the bank says, well, you would have to come up with that extra because we are only financing X amount. And so I went to the owners and I said, look, this is the situation. And he told me, don't worry, we'll work something out. About a week after, he called and said, look, he spoke to his valuator. And his valuator said at the time that they valued, that was the price of the property, but the property value could have fallen. So take the young boy valuation. So I got $200,000 off. When it came time to closing, I had forgotten that you would need your legal fees and your other
Oh
costs, which
my.
was quite significant. And I said, Lord, how do I do this? The morning the bank called and told me, I said, well, okay, I was heading to work. What do I do next? My secretary at the time called me soon after the bank called and said there was a matter that I had pending which required some back pay. And she called and said, look, they just approved this back pay, and the back pay would have covered
My
all the
God.
necessary, but still would have provided sufficient for two boxes of KFC left over. So God doesn't only supply; He supplies a little bit beyond
Yes.
what you need. And the interesting thing about it is that when I went to sign the papers, the owners came and we signed. And I said, well, look, you all could stay on until January because where I'm renting now, that lease is up in February. So it's no problem. And I said, no, we brought you the keys. We've already moved off. And it's only after leaving there, I recognized that that date was December 15th. 2009, the date that I had decided that by that date I would have what I wanted, and that was January. So it was an 11-month journey that brought me on this specific date. So that's the sort of crazy faith that I've been able to enjoy with God.